My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. I'm on a mission to share my plant knowledge with you. Now in this episode, we look at winter pruning in particular. We've just had a big storm come through. It's done a lot of damage to my soft and tender plants, made even worse by our very late warm November conditions. So it's time to cut back and prepare for winter. So this season's been very strange. We're in mid-November, we have not yet had a frost, but we just had a storm come through that gave lots of damage to my plants, so I have to get in there and do some pruning back. So I thought I'd share with you my technique, which I think is very efficient and easy, and something I would encourage you to do yourselves. Before we get on to that, I must make the point that many people like to do a certain job at a certain time of the year. So you might have slated for early October, you lift your dahlias, or maybe late October you lift your dahlias. But the seasons don't work that way, and neither do the plants. Those tasks that you have really are better done in an optimized condition. And what I mean by that is, we haven't had a frost. I've enjoyed weeks and weeks of extra color and flowers in my garden, because we haven't had those frosts. So try and match your tasks to the climate that you're having at that time, rather than it being on a set time. Now what I do is I have clippers in one hand, and with my other hand I grab a handful of plants that I want to cut back, and I pick them up and I put them down. I'm lucky that my truck is so close I can just walk through my gate and I can put them in my truck. And I would encourage you to do this too. What it does is give you a nice clear area. You haven't got plant cuttings on the ground and leaves in the way. You end up with this nice clear area. You can see what you're doing, and there's a minimum of handling. I put them straight in the truck, come back, fill my hand again, do some more pruning, and I find it to be very, very efficient. I've got lots of plants in here. There's banana, there's dahlia, erythrina. All of them will get cut back. Some will get lifted, some will get moved. But the key thing is I can now go and see what I've got. Those dahlias will get lifted soon. I know exactly where they are. And I've also pulled out a whole bunch of weeds, so it works very well. Now this is the Dahlia campanulata that I really had hoped would flower, but the storm came, it knocked it, the branch got snapped, and no flowers this year. But just look at the size of that stalk. That stalk is 2 inches across, and that's all grown from May until November. It's amazing the amount of growth that plants can put on when you just get out of their way and let them grow. That particular plant has a late fall flowering window, so I don't know that I'll be giving it the time to grow next year. But it is interesting how fast plants grow. That's the stem you just saw from the major branch that fell over. Here I am pruning back a fig. This is Martinenca ramada, a very nice fig. It's got stripes on the bark, and the wind had blown it, and the whole thing had pushed away from the house. So nothing but to give that a bit of a haircut, take the weight off the crown so that I can then train it back onto the side of the house, where it can enjoy summer heat radiating out of the brickwork from the house. Next up is the tree dahlia, another tree dahlia. This grew 15, 16 feet high, and the storm just completely ripped it to bits, smashed and shattered. Now what I will do with this is, typically I like dahlias to get a frost, or 2 frosts, maybe even 3 frosts, and that really puts them to sleep. But this one has to get cut back, and I'll still let it have a few frosts to put it into full dormancy. Now you can see me here going through and clipping and trimming, and I'm using that same technique where you fill one hand and then you get that garbage out of the garden, and then you can come back and keep on pruning. This is that large Dahlia campanulata, very substantial plant, but it won't be back for another year. This is Albitsa, beautiful, beautiful foliage. Just giving it a bit of a quick trim. And I really want you to look at the foliage. It's feathery and very, very tiny leaves on a beautiful palmate structure. Just wonderful. Now this is Iocroma, and it would be easy to just cut off one branch. But what I like to do is cut multiple small branches, and that condenses the size of that branch, so when I put it in the back of the truck, I've got a lot more space. Next up is the fig. This is the Long of August. Beautiful fig, did very well this year, just taking off a few side shoots. So when it comes to pruning, try and get yourself a plan where you minimize the handling of the growth that you've cut off. Don't get into the habit of cutting it into lots and lots of small pieces and laying it on the ground, and then you have to come along and pick it up yet again. This is the erythrina that I'm cutting back here that was a beautiful, wonderful plant, well worth getting. But by taking a handful, I can then carry it easily to the back of my truck, place it in the truck, and I can really stack a huge amount in there. Some people like to use a tarp, and they will put all their prunings on the tarp and then carry the tarp to the back of their truck. That can get heavy, but it does work. So here we are. Just a little bit more pruning next to the fig. This is the Vigna vine that I had saved a few weeks ago, but I'd left the growth on the fence. That needs to be removed, otherwise it will get tarnished. So just a few more little shoots off the side of the fig to prepare it for the winter, and that's it. The planted courtyard is all but put to bed and looking very different from what it did even a week ago. Thank you so much for watching Planted. Please tell your friends, tell your family. Happy planting.